My name is Suze Allen. For those of you who do not know me, I run a memoir church the first Sunday of every month. I am lucky today to have Roland Tech as my co-host, helping me with the technical aspects of running it. Roland is a regular attendee of church, and I love it. And Roland, fittingly enough, is how I got to meet and hear the beautiful words of the beautiful Marnie Andrews. And I'm just so excited to have her, that she agreed to come on to Memoir Church.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that Memoir Church is free of charge, and we're here for an hour, maybe a little bit longer today, for just a few minutes. And um, the purpose is to share stories and to share people's process about how they came to these stories, because it's a firm belief of mine that shared stories carry the human spirit forward. And Marnie is just such a perfect example of that with her stories and her songs that I've been so lucky to hear about in a Wednesday gathering. And we've sort of had a couple of conversations aside, but I get to find out some things that I've wanted to know about Marnie during the course of this. So with a little interview, and we'll have a little time at the end for some questions for Marnie from you. So thank you. And I would also just like to encourage you, if you would like to make a donation, you can go to the website and make a donation for earmarked for Memoir Church and help keep the Zoom room open. But that is not required. We want you to be here. And without further ado, Marnie. It's so exciting to have you here.
Thanks.
So I just have some questions in my endeavor to get to know you a little bit more. What I always love to ask and find out about what calls you to write.
Well, I've always I've written poetry since I was about 14. Um,
Hmm.
and it's evolved over time. What prompted the last 2.5 years is I joined a group. I was invited by a writer to a group called The Grind, which
Hmm.
writers invite writers to come and um, write. You agree to write a draft of something every day for a month, and you can sign up for other months. Most of the last 2.5 years, I've written, except for maybe 4 months. Um, all comes from that effort. And I started the grind the month before my husband died, the months before Jeff Jacobson died, and so it it is also was in the middle of the pandemic, and so all of the online groups that I'm now part of, there are three, all coalesced into that time period. Um, but it's important that I say this is a work in progress. This is the first time I have put any of
Hmm.
these together, and there's no logical order. There's no chronological order.
Yeah.
Um, but it's important that I say that. I also just want to say thank you to a few people, because the images from Thailand and Nepal and Virginia are from James Hopkins. The Porch Buddha is Jeff Jacobson's. My music collaborators, Chris McHale. I put the lyrics to the song that was just played in the chat room, if you're interested, and Fonda Feingold. And then two directors helped me with this, David McKenna and Susan Merson. And Steve Kronauer is my voice guru. So it takes a lot. I am a
Mm.
collaborator.
Love it.
I
Yeah.
wanted to acknowledge all of those people, to say that's what calmed me enough to find joy here. So
Yes, good. Well, I'm glad that you had that support, and that was one of the silver linings, I think, of the pandemic was that it was quieter. We could hear our muses speaking louder in our ears, and then we could reach out to who we needed to help support us to get things on the page and out there. So it sounds like you have a good supportive community. What kinds of things do you like to write about? Like what comes to you in such a fierce way that You must get it onto the page. And then you also have the added, you can perform it or sing it or, but what's that first step that churns up within you that calls you to write it down?
Yeah, I'm not, it's the impulse that I need to. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's the thing that I do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
so,
particularly like that idea of surviving, right? I mean, some of us write to survive, or some of us don't write for a long time, and then something comes to us and it pecks away at us out of the need.
well,
So,
my work has generally been as a performer, sometimes as a journalist. Um,
mm-hmm,
and the writing during the pandemic became the most important aspect of what I do, that and singing. Um,
mm-hmm,
because performing was not even, it was only an option on Zoom. And then through the Zoom rooms, which is the Wednesday gathering with Roland and the plays in progress that I've been in for 10 years, which went on Zoom during the pandemic, and through the Woodstock Fringe Playwrights, the encouragement to keep writing and to start putting it together, uh, they that's the other impetus.
mm-hmm,
People say we want to hear it, and so what has been said here is we want to hear it, and I want you to read it, and I want to see you perform it. So now I'm trying
mm-hmm,
to decide how to do that,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
study storytelling and that.
I love it. I love being that Memoir Church can be part of your process as well. That's exciting. What 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 kinds of things have you been doing up until now that you went in underground with the pandemic a bit, as we all did, and obviously with the death of your husband, that's hard. But what were you doing before? You know, what kinds of work were you doing that you were particularly invested in and proud of at the time
Um,
before?
well, I've worked as a performer and then as a teacher.
Hmm.
Was teaching at various universities for a
Hmm.
while, at different points in my life. When I was working at UAlbany, I would teach for a semester and then go work as a performer for a semester, and that was a great balance.
Mm.
Um, and there was, I would say, leading up into the pandemic, um, I was a caregiver. So
Mm.
that became my primary focus. Um,
Hmm.
and that's,
Yeah, and well, I'm glad that you got to write it down and that we are going to be the recipient
uh,
of all of your words and your song today. That makes me very happy, and I know it will be edifying and poignant and glorious for all the rest of us in the audience. So I am going to let you take over. I will get out of the way and let
oh,
you, Marnie Andrews, do what you do so well. So thank you.
thank you. I appreciate it, Suze. Really, it's great. Water spilled, of course. Exuviate. Right beginnings. Start here. Every ending contains the next story, but then managing the next word is a beginning. Exuviate. Shedding skin in order to grow. New words can start the next story. Growth is tricky to contemplate now. Grow toward what? I imagined only as far as here. Well, not quite this far. Avoided imagining life without him. But getting right up to the door with him, we imagined that together. We did that together. Now, leave behind the skin worn for so long. It doesn't serve now. Too constricting. This is the moment the skin is shed before the next one solidifies.
Mm.
Without new skin, raw, unarmored, most vulnerable to all elements, the place to long for, the place to fear. That's here, at the start, at the end of the story of him. Many of the grind notations start with the day of the month that I'm submitting it. It's a group that you send to every day, so you'll hear a lot about days.
Hmm.
Our cast of characters. Day 11. I'm sitting on our bed with coffee. Gomer flies to the feeder, his red head flashing. I wait for Gladys's voice, but she doesn't fly in. It's just me and Gomer. So quiet. I drift. We're at Opryland with an empty house and a still live microphone. Our friend, the sound guy, says, "Go ahead." So Jacobson hops up there and says, "Now put your hands together for a little lady named Marnie Andrews. We think she'll do great things. Come on up here, Marnie Jean." I jump up beside him and reply, "Why, thank you, Jeffrey Joe." Then I belt out, "Don't call me your angel. I lost my wings last night." Our first characters are born. They swirl all through my thoughts. So many. Where to land? Cecil and Beryl emerged after Jeff's photography gig at the Gladstone Equestrian Club, and he pronounced dressage. Our son Henry resists. I say, he could be Percy, the handsome foil of Henry V. He was having none of it. Then one day on the Santa Monica beach, Henry declares, "I am Percy. My blood is green, the color of money." Soon we add servants. Jeeves for Beryl, who gives her special service. And Genevieve, the patient maid of Cecil, who's a prig, except when he's in his cup at the pub playing darts and the bartender drives him home. Cecil abhors the hoi polloi and expects Genevieve to know her place right beside him after serving coffee to watch the birds. The daily morning cribbage game evolves into an arena. The Jacobson announcer narrates as if it's a tennis match, always favoring Jacobson. Cribbage is our outlet to be as obnoxious as we want. So I counter with the Andrews announcer, a brash broad from Liverpool. I treat the fans to drinks at the pub whether Andrews wins or loses. Jacobson's committee decides what is shady, if a pegging count is off or the cards are dropped during shuffling. And of course, the grounds crew comes out of their dugout to clean up the stench of a skunked loser. Gladys and Gomer, the house finches, emerge late and often when we drink coffee and watch the birds. They are cross-gender and only for us. No others see Jacobson as the nagging Gladys. "Gomer, she's whistling again for the birds. It's not right, Gomer. Whistling is for dogs." Gomer is her long-suffering mate. Sneaks off to sip nectar with Freddie Phoebe. With Gomer, my slow-talking, deep-throated bird, I could throw in singers to make us laugh until we cried. These two were visited when the bird theater went up outside the bedroom window. Day 24. Haven't seen any of our characters for weeks. Setting the tray table, which arrived with a hospice bed for dinner in the living room with Jacobson, who sits behind it. Henry cooks another glorious meal. I try to reach him with, "Hello, Master Cecil. Can I get you anything?" A hesitation. "No, Genevieve, that will be all." "You're back, Master Cecil. How nice." "Yes, Genevieve, lovely to be here." Later, after Henry leaves, "Oh, Master Cecil, really lovely to see you." "Nice to be seen, Genevieve." "Really nice to be seen." Jacobson enters the conversation. "Good to see you too." "And you? So glad you're here." "Good to be here." I can feel his eyes watch me as I turn out the lights. Then he shifts over as I come to his new single bed to climb in. As I lie beside him, I feel his body shake. I take his hand, massage his thumb pad, moving out 2 fingers to calm the twitches. We lie in silence for a long time. I get up in need of sleep. As I lean in to kiss him, he murmurs something I can't hear. "What's that?" He repeats, "Andrews." Jacobson. How to respond? "We've been at this a long while, Jacobson." "Yes, glad, Andrews." Then I realize these are the truest characters, even as the invented ones fade. Early on in our relationship, terms of endearment were soundly rejected as too mushy. We weren't going to use them, ever. Then we started to recite the list in jest. We would always forget one or two, trading them off until the one who remembered last triumphed. "Sweetheart," "Schnookums," "Honey bunny," "Doll baby," "My little petunia," "Lotus blossom," "Sugar dumpling." Andrews and Jacobson are the antithesis of sweet nothings. No embellishment necessary. We are in the same tribe, though I am a white Southern wasp and he the Midwestern Jew. Not about romance, more solidarity, comrades, and our formal family names out of respect. When I hear him call me Andrews, it is the sweetest endearment of all. Looking out the window, Gladys finally arrives to join Gomer at the feeder. My coffee's gone cold. I'm going to drink it anyway. Not ready to move just yet.
Lovely.
Day 6, January 2021. He hands me a mirror, turns my chair around to glimpse the hair length behind me. Glancing down at the floor, those inches of hair scattered there, my dear friend and hairdresser says, "That's at least 2 years' worth. I've cut away your sorrows." He speaks from the kindest place. So I let myself imagine I can erase the memories of that length of suffering, can forgive us the ways we caused each other pain, can gain what remained at my mate's end and remember only our kindest care of walking him home together. My favorite cashier, when I told her he died, replied, "Then he's here now." "Why?" because we speak of him? Yes, yes. I can say he is here today. My hairdresser was taken 3 weeks ago, today. When we last met on his porch for laughter over wine, he was fine. He returns this time, as I write of them both. My friend who cut away my sorrow, my mate who I walked home. Day 22.
Hmm.
The Not Okay Corral, somewhere in 2021. I bought Bumble for 3 months, figuring that with the pandemic, I wouldn't have to meet anyone except with words on the page. What was I thinking? The first week, they load buses up with us women, well, girls. They load us up for a mixer with a men's college 2 hours away, the one called Carolina, the real school, not the women's college. We arrive and are herded into a courtyard.
Yep.
In shock, we watch the boys file into a U-shaped balcony above us. Cows we were, with the cowpokes above, calling the herd. This is what a mixer is? What to do? Return to the bus and wait for hours to pass before I go back to my dorm? I never dated much. The preacher's daughter, we moved to small towns where boys played football and had no idea how to talk. To be fair, no matter how public I am, I'm shy one-on-one. I don't know how to talk either. Back at the corral, I'm wrangled by a Carolina freshman. He's not much better at talking than high school boys. Our herd lands on the grass of the quad to attempt conversation. These cowpokes hope for more, that's clear. We cows know in just a few hours we'll be herded back to the transport truck to our factory farm. Today is not my day for the deflowering slaughterhouse. Then, cutting through the crowd is the beautiful grad student I met last summer at the lake, the Valhalla of my youth. In that breakout summer, I was on my own. And in that newfound freedom, I'd made out with him too. And here he is. He sees me too, walks right up to me, towering the blanket square we sit on. Handsome, charming, muscular, American hunk. And I know him. Enough to know I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. Let's get out of here. Dump this loser, he croons as I stand up to greet him. A million thoughts run. If I go with him, I will not still be a virgin at the end of this night. Not ready for that, my first week of college. He just called the guy at my feet a loser. It feels unseemly. He isn't any more clueless than I. And if I go, how will I make it back to the barn by curfew? So I stay with a dull cowpoke until the bus rustles us up and takes us back to the quad of women's dorms. Ugh. So now I look at Bumble. Oh my God. It's a dating site where the woman makes the first move. Each bee writes a paragraph posted with the age and pictures. Only after I sign up do I realize I have no idea how to articulate what I might want on a date. I write, Don't know on my profile. I want what I had.
Mm.
A fellow artist who brought light and color from places I would never go and asked me what I thought. Someone who understood the need for time alone, who loved traveling together. A reader who understood irony, who made me laugh and loved to play. Someone with whom a good cuddle was as lovely as a consummation.
Mm.
Who found being wrapped in warm sheets fresh from the dryer on a cold day was as sexy as being naked together. That want is so far outside this online corral that this cowgirl hangs up her lariat and wanders off now to her proverbial campfire for coffee and a smoke. I cancel the subscription. It's too soon to lasso anybody. Or maybe too late.
Mm.
Day 5, October 21st. A one-winged blackbird tries to fly. She peeks at the sky, chill blue, sees other birds flit between it and the feeder. She thinks, that could be me. Still, she stands on the ground, pecks around the discarded seeds from other birds below the window. She hops her way to the tree root nearby, claws and pecks up the trunk to the bough. So much clearer now, midst the sisterhood of Twitter and cheap. In the shade of gold leaves not yet dropped, she revels in the expanse of sky. Why hadn't she noticed before? Oh, yes, one wing. And now that she's arrived at this glorious perch, how to get down? No way around it. She'll have to fly. She tests her one wing, thinks it's possible she won't die. She tries to counter the lift of the wing with the weight of her torso. This looked so much easier from below. Now she takes flight, spins in a spiral round and round, just missing the feeder perch by inches. She twitches, then rights herself on the ground again. Next time her aim will improve when she learns to move as a one-winged bird. She hops forward toward the trunk again as leaves fall all around her. The cribbage game. So here's the deal. That's what he says as we walk on Miller Road after our game. We've played cribbage most days of our 43 years together. Cribbage, that intricate game of cards, luck, strategy, with a board to peg the score. We joke that it is our way to get all of our obnoxiousness out for the day. Not that we weren't obnoxious at other times, but it's a good faith effort. Today we went to Just Doc to get some understanding of what happened. He's such a good patient, gives lucid answers, succinct responses, as if the off the charts events of the last 2 weeks hadn't happened, but they had. They continue to happen. He got blood work. He's lost 10 pounds. He's lying down when the doc came in. The clues are here. More doctors next week, specialists. We scuttled our morning game. Back home, I issue our usual challenge to play. Curled lip, low growl. Oh, you know, the signal. He didn't get it. Couldn't read my shorthand. So I say, want to play cribbage? He spreads the cards, shuffles, shuffles. We cut. He wins the deal. Shuffles, shuffles, more. There are two aspects to playing cribbage: scoring the cards in your hand, then tallying the points, crib laid out on the table. Yes, it is a counting game, but the counting doesn't go very high. You get used to it. It's easy. Today, Jeff couldn't count. He could still throw cards that would help him in the crib, but he couldn't total them. He couldn't add 5 and 7 to get 12. He could not say numbers. He couldn't advance the pegs, the correct number of spaces. He would make sounds of, and if I said the number, he would nod. I count his crib, and he has such lucky cards, huge tallies. I slow the game down. The Andrews announcer notes each peg move. I watch him, do my best to extend this game, throw in little asides to the crowd at the arena. He wins. Such a cost. He, the winner, forgets to shake the loser's hand.
Oh.
He couldn't remember that move. We both lost. Want to go for a walk? He said. Sure. It's the one thing we can reliably do together still. We still have our morning coffee, watching birds, but he speaks. So here's the deal. I look at him. Maybe this is a clear moment to address what is happening. But no, silence. We walk another 20 paces. So here's the deal. I look, wait. But again, no words follow. We walk in silence. I take his hand. Whatever the deal is, I'm here.
Oh.
When have you cried out? Was it in joyous surprise, in consternation, when you got word that somebody died? Make all the noise you need. Read the journals of the dead. Remember, you still live. Forgive. Maybe there will be a what next? Maybe not. When you've got what you wanted, why aim for more? The unexpected. Aim for that. Once that moment comes when everything wished for is here, enjoy it. Make a joyful noise. By the end of your song, it will have disappeared. I sent out the announcement for this. When I did, I included one of Roland's Wednesday first reads. It was a piece called The Dance. Roland's posted it if you missed it. It's in his Hear Me Out monologues. I write a lot about dance. And, you know, no one would ever look at me and think there's a dancer. Well, I think back. So since dance is such a part of my writing, and then I remember I unearthed Beulah. What I want to know is how did you and me become such good dancers? What, we do it in hiding after each spanking out of defiance? Or was it in our blood all along? And all we heard from them is, you better squash those impulses if you want to survive. Well, I'm still alive. How about you? All a matter of being willing to meet your destiny and keep those tunes dancing in your head and feet. I'll meet you there in our dancing dreams.
Mm.
We'll keep the living in us alive that way. I think I said earlier that with Zoom and Jeff's death and the pandemic, so much has changed of what feels important to me. I spend a lot more time alone, but my art has generally been collaborative. Another musician I write with and perform is Fonda Feingold. And even though we have added writing songs to our collaboration, I want to sing this one she composed alone. Maybe it's the master gardener in me. If I had a home I could have a yard in, I would plant a garden in my yard. I wouldn't want a lawn I'd work just as hard in. I'd rather have a garden in my yard. If I had a garden, I would plant no hedges, no border walls or ledges, wouldn't fence it in. Companion flowers and herbs would support my fruits and veggies. I'd plant clover around the edges for the bunnies and their friends. And I'd be carefully choosing my soil and my seeds, always respecting my birds and my bees, learning to live with my bugs and my weeds. Those weeds are probably medicine everybody needs. Now the neighbors will be yelling for our watermelon, and the pumpkins will be selling later in the fall. Hey now, people, don't be jealous of our beans and our lettuce. By all means, come join us. Come one and come all. In your heart, you know this is medicine everybody needs. If I had just one wish for our only planet, I wish everyone would handle it with care everywhere. Imagine all the neighbors sharing fruits of their labors. If everybody had a home they could have a yard in, chose not to have a lawn, they'd work just as hard in. If everybody had a garden like the garden in my yard.
Wow.
Thank
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Can we spotlight? There she is. There's the composer. Thank you for coming.
And the composer on the front end was Chris McHale. If he's here, I wanted to shout him out too. But there've been, as I said, so many people who helped me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely, Marnie. Thank you so incredibly
Wow.
much. I
Thank you.
just
Thank
loved
you.
all the exquisite minutia of caregiving and love and loss, and it was just stunning. And I just thank you for all of it. Beautiful. And I just feel like your partner is here with us today as well. So that's beautiful.